So, Jim Messina, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance's closing argument can be summed up as thusly. Adam Schiff has a thin neck. He wants a firing squad to execute Liz Cheney.
Yep.
Kamala Harris is trash. And if he loses the election, it's Nancy Pelosi is the B word. And if he loses the election, it's all his voters' fault. That was his closing argument. What are you looking at tonight?
Usually you want to close with voters' hopes and dreams. Americans are inherently hopers and dreamers. They want to know where you're going to take them for the next 4 years. You have one moment to make that pitch. When Tim and I were going at each other in 2012, you had two normal campaigns, Romney and Obama, making normal arguments. I don't think you would ever in your life close a campaign like this. And instead, you have Kamala Harris. You know, they both said, Joe, one thing I think is incredibly important, the word enthusiasm, the word momentum. Momentum and enthusiasm matter in the final days because it's who
has it right now?
Oh, she does. If you look at the polls, 10 points, Democrats are more enthusiastic. That number usually is determinative on who wins a presidential campaign because you got to get out and vote. You got to get your friends to get out and vote. So that's the number I really look at when you look at the Iowa poll this weekend. I don't think she's going to win Iowa, but I think what that was women and enthusiasm saying we are moving here. We are angry. Mika and I were talking about this for the last 6 months. Women are angry in this election, and they're voting early in historic numbers. And it's why we were hanging out earlier, and he said, how you feeling? And I said, I put my faith in women voters, and I think tonight they're going to deliver a very clear message not to screw with them.
So, Tim, just from your seat, where is this race as people head out to the polls now? They're open. It's 7 o'clock here on the East Coast. You know, everyone's watching these Trump rallies down the stretch and saying he's not building the coalition. He's not reaching. Well, he doesn't have that gear. He is who he is. The campaign tried for a long time to change him. He got in the people who allow him to be himself now at his side. This is who he is. There is no other gear for Donald Trump.
Yeah, he doesn't have that gear himself, but he did in 2016. He learned a lesson. The playbook was there for him the last 10 days, right? It was after Access Hollywood, after Comey. He was still Trump, right? He was still advancing some noxious views, some views that aren't traditional conservative views, but he was on message-ish, right? It was draining the swamp, it was the border, right? Like he stuck with that for the last 10 days.
Most importantly, and he even said it after the election, others have said it for years following the election, that the last 10 days of that election, he showed discipline and he got quiet, got out of the way, and let it be a referendum on Hillary Clinton. This time, he's done just the opposite. It worked, but just the opposite. This time, the last 10 days, execute Liz Cheney. The last 10 days, insulting everybody. You know, Kamala Harris is trash. You can go down the list. His last 10 days, it's been the Madison Square Garden event.
Putting on a garbage truck costume.
Causes this spike on Google lately, like nothing. So what's happened these last 10 days?
He can't control himself right now. And this is a person that Donald Trump is the same person, but it's been a decade. And whatever it is, the confidence of having won the last time, thinking that he's invincible, having advisors around, getting rid of all the advisors that told him, no, Donald, you shouldn't do that.
Who's that?
This combination of things. I mean, look, say what you want about Kellyanne Conway and them, but like even in 2016, like she did have that with him. Like she was able to say to him on the plane, like, you know, you need to focus on the forgotten man and like you got to focus on this, right? So he had the playbook in 2016 and he had like a quasi team that could do it around him. It wasn't the A team, but he had a quasi group of people. Right. But now those folks are all gone. It's unadulterated Trump. And really the only path, and this is the other thing we were talking about for him right now, is just jacking up turnout in these red counties. You have seen that in the early vote. So that's, I think, the one red flag because he's not even trying to reach Nikki Haley voters. I mean, he didn't call Nikki Haley since June. So he's not trying to reach swing voters. It's all about jacking up red counties. Could have been
helpful. So to Jim's point, I mean, women are reliable, unlike a lot of men, but I think it's important to look at the reason that they are angry. And not just say they're angry because he makes vulgar gestures on stage, although that would be extremely disappointing to anybody. You wouldn't hire that person. You wouldn't want that person. You would certainly say something if someone did that in your presence. You would not support that. But he's a defamer of women. He's been found liable for that. He's a sexual abuser of women. He's been found liable of that. He's been accused of rape multiple times. Let's just say very blatantly, the misogyny runs deep with Donald Trump. We know how he feels about women. But what he's done to women, what he has done to women with the fall of Roe, whether we like it or not, is that he has caused us great suffering. He has hurt women in what he has done in his first term. And I think that actually, Mike Barnicle, makes men mad because they are watching what's happening to women across the country in states where there are these strict abortion bans, taking them to hospitals, carrying them at times while they're bleeding out, and they're not able to do anything. And then they're confronting ERs that can't do anything to help their women. I think any real man would be upset about that.
You know, Mika, in your explanation, which is absolutely on point about women and their feelings and everything like that, you can extend it. Women, I think about their families much more than men do when it comes to voting. They think about their children, the impact that adults have on their children because they see it each and every day. And the impact that Donald Trump has on our culture, on women, children, men, has been impactful and almost always negative. The other day, I'm with two New York City police detectives, both married. Both went for Trump in 16, both went for Trump in 20. They're not going for him this time. Why? They boil it. I can't say it on TV because there are several expletives involved.
Yeah.
Because he's mentally ill. He's crazy. They've watched him. One of them went to the Garden for that rally and came back saying, you know, this guy's nuts. He cannot be in charge of anything. And that is reflected in their home lives. And their wives also went for Trump and not going for Trump now. So it's anecdotal. I haven't looked at a poll in 3 weeks. I've had the World Series to watch. I've had Men on Fire on TV with Denzel, watching that instead of looking at the polls. But I feel rather good about this. I feel rather optimistic about this. I think momentum is with her, and I think a large component of the momentum that is with her is based strictly on Donald Trump's rhetoric, his behavior, his physical appearances over the last 10 days.
I will say, and Mika brought up women and what they've seen over the past several years. And, you know, the Donald Trump was found, and I just want to get the wording right. Donald Trump was found liable, and he was found liable of sexual abuse. And the judge said, Judge Kaplan said, the finding that Ms. Carroll failed to prove that she was raped within the meaning of the New York Penal Code does not mean she failed to prove that Mr. Trump raped her, as many people commonly understand the word rape. He added, indeed, as the evidence in the trial recounted below makes clear, the jury found that Mr. Trump, in fact, did exactly that. And I only bring that up because you had said that, and I just, every time we say that, I want to make sure that we're not speaking in shorthand, that the jury found one thing, the judge said, in fact, it was rape. And so, just to be very clear, the Trump campaign, obviously, through the year, has been concerned about how that was used. I would not be reading that this morning, but for the fact that is what the judge said, and we just want to be crystal clear on that.
Yeah, judge said it met the definition
right
there. Also, to Mika's point, a group of OBGYNs in Texas put out an open letter, 111 OBGYNs pleading with state elected officials to change their 6-week abortion law for the very reason you say, Mika, which is that they say it's preventing them from providing life-saving care to women who need it, so that there need to be some changes to the laws. Presumably that would apply to Donald Trump as well.
The hard thing to confront right now, and I think for a lot of women are talking about this, and it sickens us to our core, is some of the men who are taking part in preventive capitulation, who are billionaires or who run major organizations. Like, we know Rupert Murdoch, we know Jeff Bezos would never hire Donald Trump. Jeff Bezos wouldn't hire him to deliver packages.
No.
And I don't think he actually can because of his conviction, but even more so, you can't trust him. He would throw them in the garbage or something. He wouldn't do his work.
Right.
He wouldn't care. He would be rude to women, and he would be a sexual harassment nightmare.